Hey everybody, welcome back to the Nerdy Gritter, where we delve deep into the details of pop culture. I am Dez.
And I'm Fox.
Fox, I have some important news for you.
Ooh.
Yeah. I've been, moved by something. Like, my heart has really been pulled into a special place. And I've joined Project at Eden's Gates.
Are you moving to Montana?
But, yeah, I'm going to move to Montana.
Finally.
And I'm going to be helping the father.
Now, will this affect the channel at all? Or are you going to be the YouTube media wing of the organization?
Either you're going to join me or I'm going to murder you. So...
Ooh, that is legitimately a hard choice. I'm not sure. I don't think I'd like to be in Eden's Gate.
No, we've been playing Far Cry 5, but in my free time...
You've been playing it more than I have.
More, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been playing a lot of Far Cry 5.
I've only been playing it with you and then for an hour with a friend a couple weeks ago. But
so I've played... I got, one of the benefits of getting sick is you're home with nothing to do.
And being the one that we're not hosting the game, the recorded game.
Right, and so I can do what I want. Well, I haven't done any story stuff yet.
Sure.
But I've been doing a lot of the side missions, things like that. But it's just crazy because other than the fact that these people are trying to murder you and they're obviously crazy.
Other than that,
they do such a good job of portraying these guys genuinely trying to convert you and to manipulate you. Like, that they are master manipulators.
Yeah, we talked about... Okay, we don't need to talk about this. We talked about it last week, but I've been thinking about religion, and why it does such a good job. And just to put it, I was just thinking, the religion in the game offers something useful to people.
It does.
And whereas usually religion is simply, here's a set of rules, at least in a video game, here's a set of rules, or there's nothing to it, it's just we're fanatics. Mm-hmm. And this is there's a reason why people would join this. I understand. It's great. Anyway, I'm glad you're really enjoying it, but we've talked about that a lot, especially last week. What else have you been up to lately?
I've been reading a lot of comics still, and
Nerd.
Oh gosh, I love it so much. I'm in this rebirth DC pun.
Oh, I'm in this... I thought you were being literal, because I literally 5 minutes before this ordered Superman and Batman Rebirth.
Rebirth, did you really?
1, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, and never mind. Something else.
I'm in this rebirth of comics where I've always loved them, I've always adored them, but I read a lot and I kind of ran out of books to read, and I'm I'm gonna go grab some of my old graphic novels. Yeah. And I've been tearing into them just hungrily and remembering how much I love these and why. And I want to talk so many things. I want to talk about comic book artists and why my favorite comic artist is Chuck Dixon and why his art to me is specifically perfect for the genre. I want to comics. They're so good.
Similar. I've been reading through Fables again.
Oh yeah,
I don't know if anybody has read Fables. It's a Vertigo series. Basically, think Once Upon a Time, the TV show, but better.
Right.
And where Once Upon a Time got its idea, I assume. But that's been really fun to read too, because it's a long series. There are 21 collected editions.
Oh wow!
Of the series. It's a 150 issue long series.
Nice.
I have all of them, and they're all great. For the most part. There's a couple that are a little weaker, but it's fun series, and the characters are awesome. So I'm kind of there with you, but I've also been reading some new stuff, too.
I've also been catching up on a lot of old movies again, just sitting down and watching stuff with my wife. We recently just watched... I don't remember.
I love that movie.
Yeah, it's
John
a real
Cusack.
good movie. Yeah, absolutely.
1988,
no, what did we just... watched something and I wanted to talk about it and I'm totally spacing on it.
Well, I've got several movies I've watched
this
week. Go
ahead. What have you been up to?
So, this Friday was Friday the 13th.
Oh, yeah.
And Faith and my wife and I were sitting down to eat dinner, and usually we've been watching a show called Veep, and it's okay. But I noticed that Friday the 13th, 1 through 8 have been put on Amazon or something. Yep. And I was like, can we watch the first one? And it was the shock of the century. She was like, okay. She was like, okay, let's watch it. And I was like, yes. It's a bad movie.
It's 80s horror. And so the genre of 80s horror is almost a bad genre.
No. I mean, sure. Most of them are just a quick, gore, make a buck. It made a buck. It was $550,000 was its budget. It made $49 million.
Yes.
No, but I mean, like, Nightmare on Elm Street is a decent movie. Like, it's stupid and, like, cheesy and ridiculous, but it's, like, paced well. There's, like, characters that do logical things. Like, Friday the 13th is a nonsensical movie. You know about Jason, right? The character of Jason?
Absolutely.
Most people, minor spoilers here, for a movie that's now 38 years old.
Yeah, really, almost 40 years old. Yeah.
Almost 40 years old. Jason is not in Friday the 13th. The killer, spoilers, is his mother, Mrs. Voorhees. Here's the thing. You do not know anything about Jason or his mother, those two characters, or their story of him being drowned and her being angry about it and hence going on a killing rage. Not mentioned until literally one character is left alive.
Really? I thought I remember them talking about this lake is the lake with that legend and that myth is going on.
Maybe it happened in 2 through 12. But in the first one, they do not talk about that. It opens with in like the 50s at this camp, Lake Crystal Lake. Two of they're all singing songs. All the camp counselors. 2 of them run off to go like have sex, and you see it from a first person view. Somebody killing them. And then it just goes to modern day 1980. And you only ever see the killer either like a hand or from first person. And you never hear about this kid drowning until it's revealed who the killer is and she tells you. And there's literally one person left alive. And so all of the tension, like, the characters don't know anybody's... Here's also a thing. The characters don't know anybody in it is actually being killed until there is only one character left. That same character then finds the last person dead and hasn't seen any... Like, there's no reason for them to be actually scared. Maybe a little freaked out, like, where is everybody? But they haven't found any dead bodies, and then the killer shows up. I can talk about this more. I shouldn't, though. Well, it's bad.
The genre of 80s horror, like this, the kind of what it is for whatever reason, it's late 70s going into the 80s, this new idea of the villain you can't beat. You can't win kind of comes in. You know, before that, there was like, yes, Dracula has a weakness. The Wolfman has a weakness or whatever.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre is really a
Chainsaw Massacre. Leatherface came back
70s.
over and over and over.
It was in the 70s,
late
really,
70s coming into the 80s.
Yeah.
Over and over again. Then there was Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers.
Yeah, all these people. Yeah, just kind of the recurring. Halloween had a better way of handling it, though, because they tried to do like an anthology thing. But, yeah, it's true. The first movie is just bad, though.
Right. And
it's not scary. It's laughable, really. And characters are so stupid in it. The villain is literally a middle-aged woman.
Yeah.
And falls over several times because she's a middle-aged woman. And they don't, like, the little girl just runs over there. It's so bad. Anyway, I watched that. I watched 2 theater movies. One of which was, Thoroughbreds. You probably haven't heard of it because, you just watch mainstream movies. No, it's a movie that really hasn't gotten a lot of attention.
Is it about a horse with blonde hair that lived in Asgard and came down with a hammer?
No, it's about the son of Odin, but he's made of, like, wheat.
Yeah,
and baked.
Thoroughbred.
He's Thor O'Bread. He's from Ireland. Anyway, no. There are horses. Horses are a big theme. It is about 2... upper class Connecticut girls who are just kind of bored and rich and have little to no empathy with other people, particularly one of them, who decide that they are going to kill one of their stepfather.
Just for funsies?
Well, he's a jerk.
All right.
Yeah, as far like it was okay. If you've ever seen a movie by Nicholas Winding Refn, who did like Drive, he did Only God Forgives, and like he Bronson was a really good one. It reminded me of his style, but just not as stylistic. It was the main girl who is the like legitimately like does not have the ability to emote.
The psychopath.
Like she is, yes, a sociopath at the very least. But
sociopath is an outdated term.
What?
Sociopath is an outdated term.
Okay. She's a psychopath, sure. She does, this is not a spoiler, because it's basically, it's mentioned that she kills a horse. It's her family's horse. It also is like basically needing to be put down, but her mom is too like weepy to make it happen the right way, so she just goes and kills it.
That's a sign of early psychopathy.
Yeah.
Is torturing or killing animals without remorse.
Anyway, it was good. It was very dark, pretty funny in the same way, dark humor.
Yeah.
Worth watching.
Yeah.
It was good. I also saw Chappaquiddick, which is
that's sounds
so.
Like that was one I wanted to see, but I don't remember anything about it.
Ted Kennedy, I think
that's right.
I don't know if he's the youngest. He's the last alive of the Kennedy brothers. So John F. Kennedy, who was president.
Well, they don't last long, so I'm sorry. That's
sure. He was at this point in his life, he was the last surviving son of the Kennedys, the Kennedy dynasty, and it's basically about when he was at a party, kind of drunk, and went on a drive with a girl and drove off into the water, into a pond, and she drowned. And it's about him covering it up, basically, in a way. It was good. It was. Yeah, I could see it being nominated for Best Picture. I don't think it should win, but I could see it being a movie that gets nominated.
Huh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a real thing that happened.
Me neither.
And I saw the preview and I looked it up and I'm like, dang, that's a real thing that happened.
Yeah.
Same thing with something that I was watching old college humor videos, the Drunk History.
Oh, sure.
And I was watching one about Martin Luther King Jr., or maybe it was about his wife or something, but whatever it was, like they talked about him having a lot of affairs, having become a womanizer, and I'm like, no.
That doesn't sound,
And I'm like, yep. Yep, that's kind of one of the, nobody's perfect, of course, including MLK.
No, obviously we can't, everything he said is now meaningless.
Yep. Moot.
Yeah, all of his work.
Yep, let's start segregation again.
Yep.
Here we go. Sorry, I'll go get in a different office. The colored offices for me.
Well, I've been fighting for that for a while.
But back on the subject of horror movies.
Yes.
I have been a fan of the Halloween movies for a long time. I like them a lot because I actually like the theme that it's a familial thing. That this dude is actually going in and his goal is to eliminate the entirety of his family to like 18th cousins and things like that, like his whole bloodline. And so it's really interesting to see, how they work in new family members, things like that. But did you ever see Halloween 3?
I've seen the first one, and a long time ago it was on like TV or something. And I saw some of the Rob Zombie remake, which was bad. Yes,
that was real bad. Or maybe it was. No, I'm pretty
Halloween
sure Halloween
3 is it's in an. I know it's not actually like a direct sequel.
Okay, good. Then yes, that's the one.
Yeah,
Season of the Witch. Oh
yeah,
gosh.
It's supposed to be an anthology type thing where it's like the spirit of the movies continues, but they're differently related.
Nope.
Really? Is that not what it is?
Not 3, at least.
Yeah, 3 is not related to the others.
Not in any way, shape, or form.
Exactly.
Like, there's not even a spirit that is the same or anything. Like, it does not honor the other ones.
That was supposed to be. That was what John Carpenter wanted.
It's bad.
That's also
bad.
true.
So
I've heard.
The other movies are there's Michael Myers, and he, is this evil, embodiment of rage and hatred and evil, and he wants to murder the entirety of his family.
Okay.
And they go through, him chasing people down, and Jamie Lee Curtis escapes.
Yoga lady.
Yeah.
She's going to be in the remake that they're working on.
Halloween 3 is about a company that wants to kill kids. And so they make masks that when they watch a specific TV show, it kills them and then bugs crawl out of their face.
That sounds really dumb. But actually, that's kind of the idea. It's like Shadow of the Colossus or Eco, or like there's supposed to be some kind of connecting tissue, but they're not actually directly related.
To me,
so there's masks.
It's the day of Halloween. That's really it. Or a mask. Yeah, but
I think that's what it is.
It's as much of a connection as the movie The Mask with Jim Carrey.
Oh, I wish. The Mask was much darker in the comics. So.
Now, I remember, these movies were kind of made before my time, but I remember being a young man and watching these movies. I loved horror movies as a kid, watched so many horror movies. And I remember getting to the third one and thinking to myself, what have you done? Like, this isn't my beloved franchise. Like, where did Mike Myers go?
That's funny.
And it was generally frustrating to me.
Sure.
Which brings us to kind of what I want to talk about today.
Yes.
How do we deal with times when something that we love, a franchise that we have, or something that we really have invested ourselves in, the creator, the owner of this story,
Sure.
changes it, or
Changes
goes in
something
a different
or
direction.
adds something.
Yeah. So I guess the question we're asking today is, how much ownership does a creator have over their artwork, over their creation?
We have to make a qualification: a completed artwork.
Yes, completed.
So when something has been, like a book has been finished and published to the public, like sold on shelves, then something happens. How do we affect that? Or, like, how do we handle, or how much creativity do we give them still?
Right.
Or do we say, nope, sorry, you should have put it in the book?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to me, that's always something that's, especially because I'm a huge Star Wars fan.
Really?
Yeah, gasp, right? Literally right behind Kyle's head right now is a post that says, all I need to know about life I learned from Star Wars.
Yeah, it's funny, but really, that's not smart. You should learn more than...
Oh, really,
that doesn't teach you how to do taxes.
Doesn't it? What is the statistical probability of navigating through an asteroid field?
3,720 to 1.
Yes! I'm gonna give you a high five on microphone.
I did not look at it.
Yeah, he did not.
I know it from that. But I still don't know how to do taxes. I mean,
from the movie.
I've watched it from the movie.
Teaches me statistics. So... It works.
Just write that on your W-2s.
Yep, exactly.
3,720 to 1.
And then,
here you go, government.
And then they give me money. It's always in credits. Republic credits, and so I don't know. It doesn't... or I guess Imperial here. Credits. Yeah. Anyway, as a huge Star Wars fan, when the prequels came out, I remember watching the first movie...
And throwing up.
And... convincing myself that I liked it. Like, this is a literal
I think you and a lot of people did that.
Thing that I went through that I was like, I remember thinking in my head, like, I should have enjoyed that more, right? Like, my feelings say that wasn't great, but it's Star Wars, so it was great.
Oh,
yeah.
You're hurting my soul right now.
I liked it. It was real good. Yeah. And then the second one came out, and I'm like, oh, I can't even lie with this one. This one is,
I can't even tell myself I like this.
And then I did and still do like the third one. The third one was a good movie, I think. It's not great. I give it a 6 out of
whatever
10.
we've said before. That's what we're talking about right now. And why you're wrong.
I will bring the Hobbit back. I will talk about that.
Nope, moving on. I don't want to.
And so having this point where this is even canonical stuff. This isn't like after the series was done, you said, like a completed work. This is
the work.
The work, yeah.
This is the continuing
and
adventures.
Still having things like, especially huge things like the Force. In the original trilogy, the Force was this mystical, magical thing that we didn't understand, that me as a kid could think, what if I have the Force? Like, what if, I'm focus on that, come on. And then that's the whole fantasy of that. And then in the original, or the prequels, they throw away the fantasy and try and bring in sci-fi. Yeah. And they're like, midichlorians, we can count them.
Real quick, I want to try to make a distinction, because what does it mean when something is outside? Like, so George Lucas has written or had a huge influence, at least, on all of the Star Wars movies.
Right.
Pre-Episode 7.
Yes.
We're talking about those 6. I want to make a distinction here with a different but similar, with Star Trek. Everything pre-2009 Star Trek was very heavily influenced by Gene Roddenberry.
Right.
Original creator, he was in on everything, as far as I know.
The Hot Rod, we call him.
Yeah, Hot Roddenberry.
Hot Roddenberry.
Then, J.J. Abrams came in. I don't think he wrote the new ones, but he directed them and had a very huge influence on them. And they are very different. And a lot of people did not like them, including myself, as much as the original. It was a fine movie, but it wasn't Star Trek. And so I think that's the distinction. This is no longer the creator. I can give that a pass in a way, because it's not what Star Trek, it's a rebooted, it's a whole different thing. We could probably do something similar for episode 7 and 8 and 9 and whatever for the new Star Wars.
Right.
But that's the distinction I want to make there, is that there is a difference between the original mastermind and something new, somebody new taking over. And so we can give a pass to some people and some not.
Yeah, but even then, like, because a situation like this, and we're already starting a conversation, and that's good. Right. In a situation like that, I feel like, because the original Star Trek movies were more on, like, yes, there were action in them, but it was almost more philosophy-based movie.
It was science drama.
Yeah. And
space drama,
and there was a lot of philosophy involved, like our worldviews, like, is this okay? Are we doing the right thing? You know, and moral ambiguity and just whatnot.
You know, like the goal was not to conquer other planets. The goal was to find new people, learn about them, and invite them to a peaceful, like, basically United Nations in space. Like, it was like this whole
United
world
Stations.
Oh, there you go. A whole, like, worldview, and now Star Trek is angry guy wants revenge, let's blow him up before he blows us up.
Right.
That has been all three of the new Star Trek movies have the same plot. Yeah. And it's very disappointing.
And so at that point, I feel like there should be even like an honoring of originals. But okay, so let's talk about a few specific things here. Okay. We touched on that a little bit. So one of the main things that people talk about was when J.K. Rowling chose that Dumbledore was gay.
Her words were specifically that she always considered or wrote Dumbledore to be a homosexual character.
Right. And before we even move on, we want to make it clear, Fox and I have no problem with homosexuals or anything like that. It's not that big.
We are not again. I am not trying to say that, you know,
that's not okay.
She's wrong or it's morally.
Well, now Dumbledore's an evil man.
Yeah, now he's a bad wizard, obviously, and a pedophile because he was around children and he's gay. Right. No, that doesn't make any sense, guys.
That is not at all what we're saying.
You are wrong.
The question we're having here is, why was Dumbledore's sexuality even an issue? Like, the reason it came up was because somebody in the movies wanted there to be, like, a half-second, like, glance and smile between McGonagall and Dumbledore.
Oh, yeah. Not just, it was somebody, like, in production.
Yes, yeah.
Who had influence.
Yeah, they were like, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to write this thing, and Rowling was actually surprised. She was like, what do you mean? Yeah. And he's like, well, just like a flirtation. She's like, no, Dumbledore's gay. Like, why are you talking about that? Right. And I'll say this, as somebody who loves the series, who's read the books more times than I can count, if you go into it with that knowledge and you finish reading it, particularly the seventh book,
Grindelwald,
Grindelwald, you go, oh yeah,
you can see that
for sure, yeah. But is that something that we need to take canonically? Because she's the creator, like, is that canon now? Is that something real for the books? Just because the creator said it was. Or because it was never in the actual books, the actual creation.
Does the completed work does not explicitly state, you can infer anything you want, but it does not ever explicitly state that Dumbledore had a more than deep friendship with Grindelwald. Right. They were very close, but there is never anything stated that they were romantically involved.
Right.
So, what are the two camps are, yes, I mean, she created the entirety of who Dumbledore is. Just because she didn't write it down doesn't mean it's not true. Mm-hmm. Or no, like, you have to go by what's actually written on the page. Like, she could say anything she wants, but if somebody hasn't heard about it, then they heard what she said, and then they read Harry Potter. It doesn't matter. Right. So, where would you fall on this? I'm going to ask you for your opinion.
I will take what's probably going to be a little bit of a cop-out.
Oh, you.
I love that cop-out. No, nobody loves that movie.
Nobody loves it.
Not even Bruce Willis enjoyed that movie.
Kevin Smith liked it.
Yeah, but
he directed.
Nobody liked Kevin Smith.
Yeah, nobody liked Kevin Smith since, like, 1992, so...
So, anyway... My little... Sorry, I wanted to talk about, like, Kevin Smith's and Bruce Willis's feud for a while after that. And Bruce Willis was like, just sat on set and smoked pot all day. And Kevin Smith's response was like, yeah.
I did. Got paid.
Anyway, my cop-out is that... Well, the simple answer is no. I don't think the creator has a right to do that. Okay. And not so much that has a right. The creator can say whatever they want and do whatever they want. But within a completed work, that is your story. So if Rowling is going to go in and say, oh, Dumbledore's gay, and then somebody else reads it and they say, nuh-uh, nobody can change that person's experience. You, as the reader, are going to go in. Now, if you want to say Ron was gay, you can read the book and say, no, he married Hermione and they had kids.
It was all a facade.
Yeah, it's his beard. Hermione's his beard.
To not disappoint his parents.
Yeah, but you can't say that because factually in the book it says so right.
He does
there.
something to
he
contradict.
Likes girls,
right?
Or if you were to say that Harry Potter was actually a murderer, no, we saw everything he did in the books. Like, yes, he killed somebody, probably a few people, but not out of angry intent.
Yeah,
anyway, so there are the things that you can say about the story that can be refuted by the story, and things you can say about the story that can be supported by the story. That is a neutral story statement, a neutral character statement. It is neither confirmed nor denied by the story, and at that point, I would say that it's 100% up to the reader to just take whatever they want out of it. If you want to read the book and say, nah, he's straight, that's literally not going to change a single word of the story to you. It may change how it impacts you, how you foresee it. Maybe you are a bit of a homophobe and that's going to make you enjoy it more. Or maybe you just feel like you can connect to Dumbledore as a character more if you are a cisgendered person and like a heterosexual person or whatever it is. Like, if you just want to say no, then cool. Nothing is going to change that. Or if you want to be like, yeah, Rowling said that, and I think that's just fine. And you read it with that, and that's the way I choose to read it. Like, yeah, I would agree with Rowling, and I think the story supports that just fine. But if I were to sit down with somebody and say, yeah, I don't, the way I read it, he's not, I would say, oh, interesting. What do you think?
I would probably land more on that side of author's intent is important.
Yes.
It's not the most important thing. It's not the most important thing in the world because, like you said, if I just happen to read Harry Potter and don't even know who J.K. Rowling is, like I get a copy somehow without her name on it,
right?
And I just read it and then, like, never hear anything she ever says. It doesn't make any difference, and that means that story is locked in place, like it has its own thing. But I do believe in the author's intent having a pretty significant place. I mean, if I were to write to my wife right now and say, write a letter to her and say, I can't wait to see you. I love you so much. I'm excited to get home and have dinner with you.
Right.
I could say, or she could interpret that as anything she wanted, like, I love her romantically, we are married, blah, blah, blah. That's a pretty good way to look at it. It's probably true. But if I were to, like, then...
If she's having a bad day, she might think that was saying, I expect you to make dinner.
There you go. Like, that kind of thing. But also, like, if I were to show up, that's a good example. If I were to show up and be like, where's dinner?
I wrote you that
note. I wrote you that letter. I was looking forward to having dinner. Where is it? And, like, she could have said, well, you said you love me, you were excited, so I thought maybe we could make it together, or, like, you were getting something. Like, no, I expect you to have this. I, as the author of that letter, get to decide what it meant.
And that's actually a really good point, because that doesn't change how it's interpreted, though.
Sure, exactly.
She can't stop at that point and say, well, if that was your intent, I guess you're right. Yeah. I'm sorry I didn't make you dinner.
She could say that. It would be hard to do.
At that point, there would have to be some sort of understanding between reader and writer. And I think that's where content comes in. And that's where the actual words in your letter to your wife could be interpreted a lot of different ways, which the actual words about Albus Dumbledore could be interpreted a lot of different ways. And at that point, it's the person's interpretation of it. And you actually brought up something that brings me to a question that I want to ask you on this, because I think this is a really interesting thought. You said, if I were to read this book and it doesn't have J.K. Rowling's name on it.
Yes.
And I were to get through the whole series and I don't even know who this person is. What if at that point you have no idea who J.K. Rowling is, but you just hear that somebody famous named J.K. Rowling said that Dumbledore was gay? Or let's even remove this from that situation. Let's pretend you read the book and The Pope. No, it wouldn't be the Pope. He didn't read Harry Potter. I'm just trying to think of somebody.
He's a progressive new Pope, okay?
Somebody like super famous here.
Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt were to say, yeah, I read the book that Dumbledore was gay. Does that impact it at all?
Not so. I mean, to me, it would be like where you landed before is probably where I'd land as well. Like, that's interesting. I feel like as we get older, hopefully that we're able to understand different points of view, different interpretations. Maybe not even understand the different ones, but understand that things can be interpreted differently as we are younger. Here's what it is. My opinion is very different right now than it would have been. Not even just after I read them as they were coming out, but it's a way to distract me in the middle of a sentence.
Go ahead.
Not even after I finished reading them as they were coming out when I was younger, teenage and younger, but even like 5 years ago. My worldview affects how I interpret things, and at this point, it doesn't really matter what people say. It's not going to immediately say, "Oh, I was wrong." It might, next time I read it, which is very likely because Harry Potter's great, I might have that in my brain and be like, oh yeah, maybe that's true. Like, I can see that now. We come down on different points on actually the idea of Dumbledore being gay. And I'm not trying to, this is not a disparaging of homosexuality or anything.
Right.
I like the idea, to me, to make a volatile comparison, Jonathan and David in the Bible is their relationship is stated very explicitly as a very close, loving relationship.
Right.
David loved Jonathan as he loved himself, or even as he loved like his wife, or something very similar to that.
Right.
And it's interpreted, I don't think ridiculously, as homosexuality.
Yeah, some people think that. Yeah.
Right. Some people think it. It's not contextually true or stated. But I love the idea. I think male friendship has this stigma about it where you either have to be gay or you're just bros or whatever. You can't have a close, loving relationship. And so I like the idea of Dumbledore and Grindelwald being like close best friends who have gone through these like these events together and just have forged this bond. And I'm okay with J.K. Rowling saying, "Oh yeah, I thought they were homosexual." But that's how I see it as a close personal relationship. And
it's exactly my point is what helps you enjoy the story more.
Yes.
If it's not trying to take things out of the story or even out of context of the story, if it helps you identify with the characters more, we're getting a little off topic here, but like, the very end of Return of the King, where Frodo is getting on the boat and he hugs his friends and he kisses Samwise on the forehead. And a lot of people were like, that's gay, bro. So gay. Oh, what's that? And it was like, no, like, this is this isn't friendship anymore. Like, this is more than just brotherhood. Like, these guys have linked their very souls together in a completely non-sexual way in any way, shape, or
they
form.
tone it down in the movies.
Yeah.
Through the books, Sam, like, time and time again is just like, I love you, master. Like, just they have this relationship that's so much more, and is written in a different time, which is kind of the point. But, it's a thing that we inevitably insert our own personal worldview into everything we read and watch. It's very difficult to disconnect how we interpret the world without real conscious effort to do so.
Quick side note.
Yes.
What are the chances that Jude Law is going to kiss Johnny Depp at some point?
Oh, they've talked about it.
Oh, yeah?
They will not be explicitly gay.
Oh, really?
Apparently there will not be... I think this is the last I've seen, and I don't even think I read I think I saw a headline. But they will not be explicitly homosexual.
I'm surprised by that.
Right, and I mean...
That's fine, because you know what? That doesn't have to impact the story in any way, shape, or form.
Now, that's another thing that I've heard like people talk about is some people say, oh, who cares whether or not he's gay or straight if in the story it doesn't matter. If Dumbledore doesn't have any, a boyfriend or a girlfriend or never even... Right. That's not what it's about. It's about him trying to stop Voldemort. Then who... Well...
And the other movies,
the Harry Potter story.
Yeah, okay, got it.
Then who cares? What? Yeah. Okay, let's talk about Fantastic Beasts. Yeah. If it's just about him trying to stop Grindelwald, then who cares? some people, then does it matter if he's gay or not? I would say that it does. I think I might disagree with you. Well, you very briefly mentioned. I don't know what your actual. Opinion
well,
is.
I will go into it more. You go ahead.
Well, our personality traits don't just stay in a box.
Right.
Like things that are part of our identity kind of affect everything else. Like say religion. My religion of Christianity. When I'm talking to another bus driver at work, even if I'm not specifically like, hey, join my religion, you should become a Christian. If I'm interacting with them, I'm hopefully going to be more kind, be more graceful, be more gentle, be more helpful to them. Mm-hmm. And I would see that because Christianity is a pretty core part of my identity as overflowing from that. And I would expect that sexuality plays a pretty big role in that as well, or a similar role, where, me as a teenager in a group of friends, I interacted with females differently than I interacted with males. Not that I was always trying to just like, hey,
sub girl.
Yeah, like date a girl or something, but it was a different type of relationship than a male friend.
Right.
And so I think that kind of thing involves is kind of important in a story, even if it's not explicitly what the story is about.
And I both agree and disagree with you on that. Here's what I'll say is I think it's important to write agreeing with you, to be a writer that agrees with you in that your sexuality, your worldviews, your religion, these things define your actions and who you are. And they're going to impact your actions and how you treat things and how you do things.
Sure.
But in real world applications, it doesn't mean that you break the fourth wall, look into the camera and go, I'm gay.
By the way, I'm a gayman.
Yeah, then you don't do that. Neil Gaiman. I am a fantastic writer. And you don't have to do that. You can still write. So they're going to say they're not explicitly gay. It could be, number one, because, these are technically Warner Brothers movies and we really want to...
There's an element of PC. It goes beyond just story writing.
Yeah, and so... But it also could be because... As we're writing the story, there was no reason for him to kiss Grindelwald or him to say because we were dating or as we're writing, I felt like if we were to include something that just outed them as homosexuals, that would kind of be an awkward thing. It'd feel like they were looking at the camera and saying, because we're gay,
Mm-hmm.
And so as we're writing, that never came up. And so, in the movies, there's not going to be an explicit moment.
Yeah.
You could watch the movies and it could be entirely neutral. Just like the books. And I think Rowling did a great job with that. There was no point in the books that I was like, but is Dumbledore gay? Because that's a question right now.
This story's okay, but...
But, you ever see Chasing Amy?
I know, I haven't seen it, but I know what it is.
Yeah, it's a really, really good movie about, and I won't spoil any of this. This is just the basic premise. It's about a man who falls in love with a woman, only to find out she's a lesbian, and then they become very good friends, and she begins to fall for him, and then he starts to find out things about her that he's still like, I'm not good enough for you, or I'm afraid that you're going to leave, or that you're going to go back to lesbianism, or whatever else, and their relationship starts to fall apart, and I won't spoil the end because it's a very good movie, but... If at some point they never specified that guy's heterosexual and she's a homosexual, you couldn't have the movie. That's
usually
what the movie's
that's going to
about.
be told through actions,
right?
Not just this guy's gay, this guy's not.
So that's what the movie is about, and so it had to be stated some way in the movie, whether by word or by deed. But that's not what the movies are about here, and so by word, by deed. And so, we're talking specifically about homosexuality right now, but the reason I'm doing that is because I think when it comes to creators going back to their creation and changing things, whether that's midichlorians, that's canonical.
That is a direct change. That is a great example.
Yes, midichlorians, or whether it's Dumbledore being gay, or whether it's changing the theme of the movie from philosophy to action.
Sure.
In every single one of these ways, I think that we as viewers can still take the original piece of work and watch it and perceive it for what it has to give us.
Oh, I 100% agree with that. Yeah, I don't think we should ever take even a sequel as, okay, now how do I color my interpretation of the last one? Unless it's like specific actions in the plot or something.
Right.
But like, you know, a bad sequel to a good movie doesn't ruin, or a remake, a bad remake or a reboot or whatever of a good movie doesn't ruin the first one. It doesn't change what the movie is. Like, and that's probably, I think that translates into like actual like changes to the canon. So let's bring up midichlorians again. That like the scene where the scenes where Yoda is training Luke are great.
Oh, I love
where
them.
It's not like there's very little like there's no fighting.
Right.
There's no fight training. There's like some physical training, and he lifts like a rock. But it's really like philosophical. Like here's how we as a Jedi interact with the Force. Here's what it is as far as we can tell, because it's mysterious.
It's
and
very like
it's
Eastern
around
religion,
us, and it moves
meditation.
through us, and it guides us. And then you go into, and it's a great, like that's Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
And that's the best Star Wars movie.
It's
Beautiful. Fight me on it. That's the best Star Wars movie. Episode 1, where it's just, oh, you've got X number of midichlorians. You're the best Jedi ever.
You're good at Jedi.
You're the best at the Jedis.
You can Jedi more than anyone else. Good job.
That's his training. Like, he has no training, is what we've seen. Like, it's just, oh, he's got, my little machine says he's a Jedi. I should train him.
Yeah.
And then we didn't see anything else.
Yes.
There's no teaching there, and it's just so disappointing. To the point where you're just like, nah, I don't care.
Exactly.
Yoda's great.
The Force is no longer this mystical thing that surrounds you. And it's kind of ruined that. And if you were to take that and go back to Empire Strikes Back, it would take away from Empire
Make
Strikes Back.
Yoda look like an idiot.
Yeah. And so I choose to separate the two. Whether or not this is what the creator has, whether or not it's canon, I do separate the prequels. And I will say, I hope that someday the prequels are remade as different stories.
That'd be great. That'd be fun to do.
I want that to happen.
Yeah, just the story of Anakin is interesting.
Yeah, but not with the original trilogy. I want the original trilogy to stand as it is forever, but I want the prequels to be remade because
just make one movie.
As a
they don't
viewer,
need to be a trilogy. Just make a movie about Anakin and his fall from grace.
As a viewer,
good.
I have taken this work of the original Star Wars trilogy and it has impacted me in such a way that as I view it, even though the creator came in and said something a little bit different, I, as a viewer, am able to say,
no, I'm good.
Yeah, I don't like that. And I don't. I know that there will be Star Wars fans out there that will fight me. I was like, you can't do that because it's actually in the canon. I'll be like...
And
I don't buy into midichlorians.
That's a topic we need to talk about. We might want to do next week is fandom. Just the dangers of all-encompassing fandom. And
right. If
it has the logo or it has, it says Star Wars, I want to buy it, or it's great and amazing. Right.
Well, we already talked about it this earlier, where I said that just because I like Star Wars, I wanted to make myself like the first movie, and it's a danger of fandom.
It is.
You know what I mean? So. Well, guys, thank you for listening. Thank you so much for being a part of our podcast. Hey, we don't pay to promote this or anything like that. So if you're enjoying what we're doing here, can you go ahead and just share this with somebody else or talk to friends about it? In the comments here, let us know what you think about a creator's control on their creation and exactly how this works out.
Yeah.
So thanks again, guys, and we'll see you next time. Remember, saved games, save lives.
See you later.